Hey guys, welcome to the shop. So today I'm going to show you something that's super exciting-ish. So for those of you guys who are trying to do some wiring work, or for those of you who have done a lot of it, you've probably run into a couple of forward pin connectors, like an ECU connector, or sometimes even some of the other smaller connectors that you have to repin. Sometimes if you go from year to year, or for whatever your application is, you need to jump around where the wires are in some of those little pin connectors. I'm going to walk you through how to repin one of those connectors. Sometimes they're a little bit tricky, and in this case I'm going to actually show you how to repin an ECU connector. Let's get to it. Alright guys, so some of you might say, well, why would I ever need to repin a connector? So sometimes, like in this case, you can see that I've got an aftermarket ECU in there. So I've got a Stinger PIMP ECU in my car, and some of these wires you have to repin on here. So some of them are empty from the factory because this is a V8 car, and they use some of like the factory Thunderbird wiring stuff, so you've got to move around a couple of the wires. You can see that I've got this guy done here. That's why I've got that butt splice connector on, and that one there is done as well. I've got one more that I need to move just because it's not being used for anything. So I'm going to use this that green connector there, and I'm gonna move some of the connectors. Actually, you can see this connector, that green one right there, sorry. That connector I'm going to show you how to repin, and then this is the ECU connector. I'm going to show you how to repin that as well. So there's a couple of other situations where you might need to repin a connector. So on some of these older 90s style or 80s Ford wiring harnesses, you can use these in a lot of cars. So if you're trying to put this sort of a setup into, I saw where somebody put a 5-liter Ford engine into an RX-7. So if you're trying to do something like that and you just have a wiring harness but it doesn't fit the application of the ECU that you're trying to use, you might need to repin these also. So we're going to go through how to do a little bit of that. Alright, so let's look at some of the basics on these older Ford ECU connectors, and some of the other ones actually as well. So you've got this red piece that's going to be in the connectors, and that is what holds all of the clips that hold all of these smaller pins inside of their in. So that red clip is what has to come out, and then you will expose the little clip that holds the pin in so you can move it. And also, let's see, where's that other guy? There you go. So that one as well, you can see there's a little red piece in that as well that does the same thing. So your first step is to get those little red pieces out, and then you can actually repin it. So let me get my camera set up here so you can see what I'm doing. Alright, so let's start with the ECU connector. So this is your typical ECU connector for your 80s and 90s style Ford OBD 1 stuff. OBD 2, I think the connector looks a little bit different. So we're going to start by getting this clip out of here on the ECU connector, and you can see there's a little screwdriver hole. Let me get a closer view of that. So you can see up in that top corner, that top right corner there's a little what looks like a screwdriver hole there, and then in the bottom left corner there's one as well. So what you're going to want to do is get your screwdriver in there, and then you'll be able to pry it out a little bit. So you'll stick it in there, then you can see how it pops out a little bit. I don't know if you can see that very well in the video, but you can see it sticking out a little bit. And you do the same on the other one. So this one here, we're going to put our screwdriver in the hole there, and you're going to pry it out a little bit. So now you can definitely see that little red piece is popped out of there. Now don't freak out. It's not like all the pins are going to fall out as soon as you get this out of there. That's not the case. They're still held in by clips. All this red piece does is prevent the clips from being, I guess you can call it deactivated. It makes it so the clips can't be undone, so it holds all of them in there. So you get this out. Then you can set this guy aside. So from here, and get you a closer view. So from here you can see that there is a bunch of little clips down inside of there that hold the pins in. So each individual pin, you can see down inside of there, there's a little clip that will hold that in there. So what works best is to take a screwdriver and pry on that little clip and then pull the wire out from the back side. I'll show you how I usually go about doing it. So I'm removing this connector altogether because it's not working. It doesn't do anything in my application. So what I'm doing is following these wires back to this and saying, okay, well, I don't need that. I'm going to go ahead and remove it. So this guy is the one that I need or can remove. So I'm going to go ahead and follow it back to wherever it goes. You can see that mine goes right to here. So you're going to find wherever that goes to. So mine, and on the back side of these, I probably should have told you this, but on the back side of there, let's see if it'll focus. No. So usually right towards the end of those connectors, there'll be a number on the top row and the bottom row. You can kind of see that very faintly on the bottom there. But those numbers are the pin numbers. That's not really terribly important unless you're looking at a wiring diagram. So I found this is the wire that I need to remove, and what I'm going to do is put my screwdriver in here, and I'm going to remove the pin. Now be gentle on these. This is old stuff, guys. You don't want to go getting all Western on this, and you don't really need to be that rough on it. So you release that clip, and then your wire will pull out the back a little bit. You'll probably have to make sure you hold that clip the whole time you're pulling the pin out. And there you go. So you can see here, now I've got another pin. Now, what you want to do is save these, because you can reuse these if you ever need to repin the ECU or add something else to it. Like on my ECU, I can control the inputs and outputs, so I can go to whatever pin is called for in the ECU. So I'm going to save this. I just don't need it taking up space in here. This connector is just all up in the way. So there's that. So that's how you remove the wire, and then what you would do is find where you want that to go, like I did on these ones. So this wire was actually farther over here, and it wasn't being used, so I just moved it over to this pin location. And then same with this other one. Not that guy. Where was the other one? Right there. So you can pull any of these out of here and put them wherever you want to, so you're basically repinning the ECU. But you have to make sure that you don't put the wrong, if it's a grounded input and you put voltage on it, you got to be very careful on what you do. So make sure you know what you're doing at this point. But if you need to move those pins, that's the simple way to do it. So now I can put this, if I wanted to, I can stick it in any of these open holes in here, and then I can go about my way, and then just pop this back in, and you're done. Pretty simple. So now let's look at this other connector. Now this one I haven't personally undone any of them before, but it's still same concept. That little red piece, you'll have to get it to pop out of there, and sometimes there's clips that hold it in, sometimes there's not. It just depends on the specific piece. This one, so on this one you can see that there's a little red clip right there on the side of it. So that little red clip is what's holding that in there. So you'll press on it, mess with it a little bit, try to get it. There you go. And you can see that pulls out of there. And then these wires are held in by the other clips that are on there. So I'm going to remove the ones that I cut off so that I don't have to worry about them coming in contact with something else. So all I'm going to do is release that clip right there. And then pull it out the back. Same with these other ones. I'm going to release that clip right there and pull that out the back. Now these can come in handy if you need. I mean, I'm gonna save these just in case I need to add some to these other, the ECU, because they're the same size. Let's see, what else do I have? This guy. Yeah, so we got a few more of them. Oh, so now this one goes into, they're both terminated into the same one. So all I'm gonna do is take this out, cut it down closer, and then put it back in here. So no big deal. Clip that guy there. And we will pop him back in. There we go. Pop that guy back in there. So we've got that one I can save. We got a couple of others. Alright, now I need to get this one out and this one out. So we'll just release the clip. Pull it out. Same on the other one. There we go. Now you can see I've only got the 3 wires on there that are still coming from, I think those are the engine compartment. I'm not really sure what this guy does. I don't use it. It's just there. I just don't want to cut them and splice them. So anyway, now that that portion's done, we can take our red clip and we can put it back in place. Now, these clips get fragile over time, so you can see, maybe you can see, but on this one you can see how it's kind of bent in now a little bit. So I'm going to try to reform it a little and be careful with it. And then I'm going to go right back into its home with it. So you'll make sure that that little notch there lines up with the hole that it came out of. Shove that back in there. There we go. Now none of those are coming out. Alright guys, hope you enjoyed that quick little video. If you got any comments or questions, leave them below. And if you found the video helpful, give me a thumbs up. Thanks for watching guys. Have a good one.
This is what it sounds like when my heart cries.